Right, hey guys, it's Griff here. Just wanted to do a quick, I guess, last update for the first contest of 2015. This is the ProFlex rebuild, or take apart rebuild kind of challenge. Just use that to loosen everybody up, something that everybody can do, everybody can get into. Something that I didn't mention to begin with, but I decided to do after it kind of slowed down a little bit, is there will be prizes for everybody who enters. I'm going to be holding a raffle for everybody who at least submits a video. I had a lot of guys get intimidated by some of Taz's and some of Ian's and Scott's putting up really good times. I mean, really the idea behind the contest was just get the newer users familiar with their equipment, you know, learn how to take it apart, put it together properly, see techniques that work better than others, because a lot of times, I mean, I'll even get 4 or 5 private messages a day that says, hey, what's the best way to take lenses out of a mask? So I'm going to do mine as a little bit of a tutorial with a delicious beer. This is a Newcastle Red Wolf, so thank you Newcastle Ale for this delicious beverage that I will be enjoying halfway through my little spiel here. And I'm going to go ahead and do mine with Revo ears just because they are going to be the most commonly seen, I guess, you know, in stores these days, only ones you can buy, and they just have a little bit more gusto to them to get off a mask. So I'm going to go ahead and start at some point and then enjoy this beverage and then put it back together. I'm not going to worry about rushing too bad, but hopefully you guys can get a good idea of some of the tricks that people have taught me over the years on how to get these apart and together in an effective manner. Alright. Ready, set, go, I guess. So Ian, as it turns out, used to do a lot of pit work for the Naughty Dogs, and in that time he got his nickname Flash by being able to replace their ProFlex lenses during matches of NPPL games. And so that is why he got so adept at doing it so quickly on his. So there is definitely nothing to be ashamed of for those of you guys that are getting 4 and 5 minute times. I'm also not an expert at this, but I have spent a sufficient number of time building and rebuilding the same mask over and over, taking pictures for users and trying to get sales for parts. A lot of people have been asking how everybody's getting the screws out so fast, and really the only trick to that is just not to rely on tools to put them together. A lot of guys will want to take these and crank them down and really get them in as hard as possible, but there is no need for that, especially while you're playing. You're not going to be getting any rotational inertia on these. They're not going to fall apart during the game as long as you get, you know, just hand tightened. There's no need to put Loctite on these, no need to, you know, like I said, crank on it with a screwdriver or a wrench or anything like that. Ian also used some of the clips that are provided with the soft ears. You know, some guys really like those, some guys can't stand them at all. It's all just personal preference. And in the lenses, the most effective way to take these off without damaging them is to start at the top middle. The 2005 and after frames, you can tell when they were made by the logo, and by having this extra little lip here and around the side for the clips where the lenses go. So you just peel this off from the middle, work your way around the top, and just kind of choose your direction. And then the trick to getting them back in, I guess I will show you once I get it all the way out. And again, if you're doing this with the 2K2 frames, it is a lot harder. Some of them that are more worn in are easier. So if you have new frames and you're having a lot of trouble getting the lenses out or back in, what I would recommend doing is just taking a junk set of lenses that you have floating around and just take them in and out 5 or 6 times, and you will really break in the rubber around these, and it'll make it a lot easier to get straps in and to get lenses in and out. So that is just one of the key tricks that I've learned over the years taking these apart. And here is to, I guess, everybody who has participated so far. Alright, now for the lens reinstall, the best way that I've been taught is to pinch the inside of the nose here and do these two on the bottom first. because when these pins are under tension, it's a lot more difficult to get them to do what you want if they have more pull on them from the corners. And so you just start by pinching that in and then pushing them around the side. And then working your way around the bottoms, but making sure that the corner here lines up inside the slot, or else you have to untake the one in the middle just to get it back in alignment. And then just kind of push it together. It shouldn't take much effort at all, really, especially once you've got frames in and out, or lenses in and out of frames more than a couple of times. Sorry, this is not my first drink of the evening, but it is equally delicious. So just pressure in. Oh my god. There we go. Work your way around. And then just pop them in on top. And that's another benefit of the 2005 frames. The material they use has changes over the years, especially the difference between when JT was acting independently and when Key Action purchased them. They have changed the materials, not a whole lot, but a little bit. Some guys like to put in the straps prior to the lens installation just because it makes it a little easier to open up this gap here on the side to get them in. But again, that is really going to come down to how much time you spend with your mask and how often you take it apart to clean it, things like that, because it is a part that'll get broken in fairly easy. One thing that you have to watch out for, though, there's a lot of guys that promote dyed parts as unique or original, and yeah, that's fine, they may look good, but one thing that you'll run into, especially when people use RIT dye, which is really all that's available, if you'll notice on the side here of these frames, and this probably isn't going to be the best example just because I don't think these have been on dyed parts, but anytime you have a piece of rubber that's petroleum based and you're working with any other piece of hardware that has any dye on it, over time that dye will bleed into other materials. And so when you see guys that have some of these, you know, the HB parts or the Revo parts or things like that, a lot of times you'll also run into them that have marks where dye has bled into it. And so if you see guys that are posting up dyed parts, specifically ears, if you plan on using them on a light colored mask, anything other than black, realistically, you're just going to end up with dye bleed over, and it'll just be more of a trouble than it's worth. I mean, obviously that's just kind of my opinion, my experience, but unless you really like storing your masks completely taken apart, there is no need to head after dye. There are a few guys that use Plasti-Dip. It's kind of a spray paint, and that works pretty well. Over time that will eventually chip depending on how they coat it or if they pre-treat the materials beforehand. I've seen kind of various success on that. Jonathan Staz, the first admin on this page actually, was the first one, I mean, in recent time to really kind of dig into it. And while I've still got the chance here, I'm just going to show you guys how to install the straps without much hassle. And a lot of guys say, you know, grab a spoon or grab a screwdriver or something like that. But really the trick is to just take the corner of this butterflied end here and run it through the center of the slot that's for the mask. So you just start with the corner here, run it through the center, because there's obviously less tension than there is on the corners, and then pull it through on the inside by the little tab that you stick through. And people have been commenting that one of the masks got damaged during a rebuilding. It was Taz's rebuild where he tore some of the threading on his strap. But what happens is that KM, and I mean, I'm not trashing them as manufacturers at all, but for some reason the KM thread that they use to tie up those ends is just a little bit weaker than the ones that are on JT's. I had a set of straps that I won in a little tournament at a Thomas Taylor clinic a number of years back, and the second time I installed them, I actually snapped off 2 or 3 of the rings on that thread that keeps the butterfly end together. And so if you guys are being really hard on your KM straps, and that's going to be you know, underprivileged, uses KM as a manufacturer, and I believe that OCD does as well. You don't need to tug or yank on those at all. You're not going to, you know, there's really no benefit to putting a lot of tension on that, and you're just more likely going to damage it. And for the guys with JT straps, especially those that are more collectible, really don't want to be putting a whole lot of tension on that, because what happens is you end up with, you know, something that's this is unusable in a game at this point. I mean, I can stretch the strap out all the way, and unless I'm wearing a couple of really thick headbands, it's just going to be too stretched out to use. And so this could be usable as a double strap, or just something that you would, you know, throw on a mask just to move product. But other than that, you probably want to be more delicate with the strap than anything else on the mask. So that's just kind of a quick how to put things together. And, you know, it's, I think, what is about 9 o'clock, so this will probably be uploaded by 10, because the Wi-Fi here is subpar at times. I'll go ahead and get the drawing done probably this evening. I will be awake until we stop taking submissions at midnight. And then I'll go ahead and just get everybody who's submitted and do a pool, and then do a drawing for prizes, and I'll announce the winners and get things shipped out tomorrow. I've got a couple things that I need to get out anyways. So I guess thanks for watching, and thank you for participating for those of you who have. And those of you who have not yet, especially those of you guys who have recorded videos, just get them posted up, get yourselves out there. There are going to be a lot of contests in the future that involve really kind of opening up and just being comfortable within the community. A lot of the admin, and myself included especially, are really looking forward to doing the karaoke contest again. We did that last year on one of the pages, and it was a ton of fun. But there were a lot of guys that were not comfortable enough opening up to, you know, sing in front of, well, like 4,000 people. So this is just kind of a way to get people introduced to themselves, get comfortable on camera, and, you know, kind of loosen the joints a little bit. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions. I think somebody's got another FAQ another FAQ that's going to be going up pretty soon, so check the file section for that. He hasn't really contacted me about it, but I think I know what he's up to. Other than that, flex on, and I will catch you guys later with prizes.